This is a demo of building a guard spawner device with a threat level for balancing. We will also cover a fundamental programming topic a kid's shape toy can teach us and give a real-time demo of me doing that. And what I've found is the most important skill for working with UEFN. This system is live in my map Refaced Worlds 6, which has an island code in the description. This is Device Land. This area is set up with 2 spawners, 2 team counters, and my creative devices. The spawns are timed, and the time that the spawns take is longer for the team with more members. So what we want first is a threat level, which is defined and calculated based upon the number of members of each team and guards spawn times that change based upon the number of players and team size ratio. Then we want to build a guard spawn manager that manages the spawns that guards do, then checks for a threat level, and pauses until the threat level tells it to spawn again. Now is a great time to like and subscribe if you've been thinking about it. So here we have the base devices, 2 player counters that talk to the threat level manager, telling it when a player joins a team, and 2 guard spawn managers that manage guard spawners for the teams. And here's my test harness. There's a player counter manager that allows me to push buttons and change the number of players on each team, as well as 2 guard spawn timers that display time elapsed since a guard was spawned from each spawner. This is the code functionality diagram. You have 2 team counters that record increases or decreases in team size with the threat level manager. Then you have the guard spawner manager, which asks for the current threat level, then waits for the next spawn based upon that threat level. It then recalculates the threat level in a loop using a recursive function. But before I was done with this code, I needed to do something very important: build a test harness. This is a child's shape toy. It is useful because it will teach you the importance of testing. If you just look at each block, it's not certain that they will all fit only into the appropriate hole. In fact, I can tell just from this drawing that several of the blocks can fit into holes other than their intended one. Can you pick these out? So, we build a test harness. I've built a harness for team size off camera. It adjusts the counter up and down, and a clock harness. What I hadn't built yet was something to despawn all the guards. I didn't even know how to do that or if it was possible. So I looked in the editor and found a despawn function, which meant it had to exist. Then I went to the verse code Epic had already provided. This is the most important skill you can develop with UEFN, reading the function signatures. There I found that I wanted the despawn function, and what the parameters it requires are. It turns out that despawn is overloaded to take either a despawning agent or nothing. I want nothing, but I could still add an agent. So here we are watching me code that up, typos and all. So now I have the despawn, and I know what function I'm going to call, and the plan is to set up a button and listen to that button's event, and then call the despawn event for both guard spawner devices that are in this scene. So here we are. We use versus create a function or create a device wizard, and then we dig up the file. And after we dig up the file, we add some editable variables. One for the button, one for each guard spawner we're going to despawn from. Now we could add an array and loop through that, but that wouldn't have been as quick. I just was building a testing harness, and it's good to care about the quality of your code, but in this case, I might as well just make something quick. Honestly, a loop would have been much smarter. Anyway, here we are making a bunch of typos in the process of defining the guard spawner 1 and guard spawner 2 variables. Now I recorded this to demonstrate that even though it sounds like I know exactly what I'm doing at all times, that requires a lot of editing, and I could have practiced writing this chunk of code several times to write it as smoothly as possible, but that would make less sense than just saying, look, this is hard for everybody sometimes, and you're always, sort of fumbling around with naming your variables and what you're doing, even when you're writing something simple and you've been writing code for a very long time. I've been writing code for at least 25 years. and at least 20 professionally. So it can be daunting, but when you learn to deal with your mistakes, you're learning more than when you learn to execute something perfectly, because the more code you write, the more you will learn that debugging your problems is harder than just puking a bunch of code out into a file. And if you're a little slower, I'm a little slow as a programmer. If you're a little slower, but you end up with code that's reliable, you still are an acceptable programmer when it comes to many kinds of tasks. So yeah, so there I have called the despawn function on both of the things, and the button works. So that covers it. I'd be very grateful if you'd like and subscribe, but more than that, I hope you got something out of it, and your final tasks are to implement it yourself, pick a device and use a new function, change individual variables into arrays, and find and fix my bug.